Welcome back to Hyphenated. On this channel, we talk about all things knitting and yarn. I'm Gabriella.
And I'm Jane, and today we are going to give you the 11 hard truths of knitting.
Yes, they are hard truths. We believe. All right, so what's the first one?
Number 1, you are never going to have the right needle that you need to cast on the project that you want to do right now. And if you do, it's going to be occupied by another project.
Yeah, you're going to have it on another project for sure. Somehow, you're going to have to go to the knitting store or order it on some. And how many pairs of needles do you have, or sets? I have sets, and I still don't have the right needle that I need, or the length even. Maybe I'll have it in like a hat size, but what I need is like a 24 or 32. I'm like, man.
Or like my interchangeable set, I'll open it and maybe the right tip will be there, but I won't have a cable for it because they're all on other projects.
Yep.
And yeah, there was a time where I just assumed I would have to go out and buy a needle every time I wanted to start a new project.
Yeah. I have a lot of the same size needles, and I still can't.
I don't even know how many sets I have anymore, like 6 or something.
Oh my God.
A lot of sets and a lot of fixed needles, and still,
Yeah.
I'm like, I just decided this last project I'm using like a size smaller than specified and that I need for the gauge, and I'll just knit a little looser because I wanted the sharp tips, and the right size I had very blunt tips.
Yeah.
The things you do.
The woes.
The needles problem. It's a problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, despite your copious stash, you're still not going to have the right amount of yarn or the right like size or weight or gauge of yarn for the project you want to do.
Or fiber or color or amount. So you're going to have to go out and buy more yarn, obviously.
Every single time. And I've had like, I've bought yarn with the intention of making a specific sweater. Mm-hmm. You know, that has worked out, but those are all like, you know, that yarn is being saved for those projects. And then I come across another project.
Yeah, and you can't like reassign the yarn. I mean, unless you've just given up on that
the other project. Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, I buy yarn and then it's like assigned to that project. Yeah. It's locked in. I can't just use it for something else.
You can't just go willy-nilly.
Especially if it's like a smaller project, like a hat or something,
No.
that you can't dip into that sweater quantity.
No, because you are already living on the edge with how much you buy for your... I always have extra, so I still wouldn't take the chance. But you living on the edge, there's no way you can't dip in there.
Yeah,
no.
Then I would destroy the future sweater project.
Right,
so
and this is, exactly.
You just have to buy more yarn.
Yep.
Always, it comes down to that.
For some reason.
Sorry.
Yeah.
To say.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Number 3.
Which leads us to our next point. You won't live long enough to knit all the things that you want to knit, or maybe even that you have purchased yarn for. There is an acronym called SABLE, which stands for Stash Acquired Beyond Life Expectancy, and
unless you clear out your stash and start your life expectancy kind of, over again. I don't know if that made any sense, but...
Start your stash over again, recalibrated
to your life expectancy. Yeah, exactly, but which I kind of did. So, yeah.
I mean, I haven't actually calculated how many hours it would take me to actually, like, knit through all my stash. And I don't think I want to see those numbers.
Don't do that. It could be grim.
Too grim. Not calculating.
No. We want to trudge a happy road. Okay. All right. What's the next one? Oh, long tail cast on. This is mine. Every time you cast on, you're either going to have too much yarn hanging off your long tail cast on, or not enough. You're never going to have the right amount of perfect tail. It's like every time, right?
I gotta say, not to be smug.
Oh, she's smug.
I'm kind of good at this.
Oh, man. Look at you.
I'm pretty good at this, but...
Uh-huh.
If I end up with too much, I will still undo it and just redo that cast on, because I cannot stand to have a long tail hanging
to
off
waste
the end, to
waste that yarn.
that
But
yarn, yeah.
well, and here's the other thing too is like sometimes I'll use that yarn, that long tail, to seam my sweater.
Yes.
So I don't feel like that's not it's if it's something that's done in pieces, it's not that big of a deal because I can probably seam it. But you, who might tend to do more things in the round, you may not have that option.
Right. So that's why I would just redo it. But there's also the Elizabeth Zimmerman trick of using the two ends of the yarn, like the inside
I love
and
that.
the outside.
Yeah.
And then casting on.
You always have
with
the around.
that
I didn't know
rather
that
than,
came
like,
from
a
Elizabeth
tail.
Zimmerman.
I believe
Oh, that's really cool.
is her
Yeah.
trick.
Yeah. So you use two pieces of yarn.
Tie them together, and the
and
knot
then-
is your beginning.
Yeah. And then you have then you have to snip off one end so you have an extra tail. But you always have the
does
right amount.
Bother me a little
It
bit
bothers
aesthetically.
you. It doesn't bother me. But that's because you don't weave in your ends.
I don't know.
For somebody who's anal and doesn't weave in her ends. Okay, I'm tisking. All right, where are we at?
Number 5.
Which is?
If you have a pet,
Oh,
your
God.
pet is going to get into your projects, your stash, any of your knitting stuff. I don't have a pet, but I was cat sitting and I accidentally left my Addy interchangeable needle set out of my bag, and the cats had a field day scratching their claws on it, and now it's all torn up on the outside.
They
and, like,
sharpen
little,
their nails on it?
yeah.
Oh,
like,
man.
There's like pieces that are just flaking off it
Oh
all
my
the time.
God, that's
I'm
hysterical.
a little bummed about that, but
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard
Could've
some
been worse.
horror stories about like cats getting into partial knitting, like into the sweaters and totally messing up the sweater and then turning it into like a just knotted mess. My dog, no matter what I do, a little doggy, we have she'll come and she'll sit with us, and a lot of the times I knit at night in bed while we're watching TV and stuff like that, and she'll want to always sit on the knitting. If I leave the room and I leave the knitting on the bed, she will move herself from her warm little spot onto the knitting every time. And then it's covered, and it's covered in little white hairs. So I'm constantly picking out Lucy hair from my knitting.
but that's just cute.
She's so damn
It doesn't
cute.
like destroy the yarn.
No, it's not like
It's not like a
Oh,
toddler with scissors.
oh,
I've heard much
jeez,
worse
man.
stories.
Have you heard stories like that?
I've heard them.
Oh, man.
I haven't experienced them, thankfully. 'Cause
No.
I don't really put my knitting around toddlers.
No,
So-
no.
But
Wow.
I've heard the stories. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a nightmare. Actually, toddlers and scissors near your knitting. Okay, next one.
Number 6. If you use straight needles or double pointed needles, you're gonna lose at least one.
Sometime,
It's gonna roll away.
somewhere.
It's gonna disappear
Yep.
between the cracks of the couch
Yeah.
cushions.
Somewhere in the car, you're going to have it in your bag, and you'll be going to your appointment, and you take your stuff out to knit, and the next thing you know, the next time you look in your project bag, you've only got, instead of the 4 needles you had on your project of your double pointed needles, now you've got 3 in all. You've got all these drop stitches. Nightmare.
So we are the anti-straight needle brigade, but I do use double points, and yes, all the time I'll set down that 4th one and be like, where to go? I
Where to
can't
go?
find it. I can't find it.
Yep. I like using two circular needles.
Probably less likely to lose them.
Yeah, less likely. Still. All right.
Next hard truth, number 7. You're gonna knit your loved one something, and they are either going to lose it or ruin it in the washer or dryer or both. I've had both of those things happen to me by different loved ones.
Yeah, I just knit my brother. I mean, this was a while ago, but it was his favorite hat, and he wanted me to knit him a hat. And a hat isn't a big deal, but it was really nice cashmere yarn. He's like, I lost it. It was my favorite. I didn't want to tell you I lost it. It's my favorite hat. I'm like, oh man. But the other one was I made my mom a really pretty scarf with like a little button that she could button it so it was like a little bit shorter on her. And it had one of those novelty yarns or fancy yarns that was like ribbon that changed colors. It was gradiated. It was really pretty. I don't think they don't make it anymore because I tried to remake it for her. And she was trying to take care of it and took it to the dry cleaners. And the dry cleaners, whatever chemical they used on it, completely ruined the scarf. It bled all the color out. It was awful. So she didn't throw it in the dryer. She actually tried to take care of it, but I felt so bad because I couldn't remake it for her. They didn't make the yarn anymore. But the horror stories I've heard is where people put the stuff in the washer and dryer.
That would be my mom. And she freely admits it.
Oh, she does?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's a knitter herself, and she...
Oh, man, that's hysterical.
Things on accident that she's knit into the washer and dryer and, like, felt them and shrink them down.
Oh,
and be
man.
like, oh, darn. What's your stance on these people who lose their knitting or ruin them in the washer or dryer? Would you re-knit for them, or is that, like, one strike they're out?
I told my brother I'd reknit him his hat. And I have reknit my mom other things. I think it depends on the person. Yeah, I really do. I think it depends on the person and you know, if it was like, I just threw it in the washer and dryer after I told them, no, you have to hand wash this. And like, you know, then I'd be like, yeah, nope, I'm not knitting for you again, you know? What about you?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person, but also I think I just, am very selective about the yarn that I'll use for people, and I will ask them before I commit to knitting them something. Mm-hmm. Are they willing to hand wash things? And if there's any hesitation, they are getting something machine washable, either super washable or acrylic or other synthetic.
Yeah, I don't really knit for a lot of people anymore. I've become a very selfish knitter. I knit for my dog, and even that's a problem. So
basically, like, each of my close friends has gotten like one thing. Yeah. Each of my family members.
And I think there's a lot of people who don't realize how much work goes into a hand knit item. So that's, I think, why I've become a little bit more selfish. And plus, I want to do things for me.
Next hard truth.
Okay.
Number 8.
Number 8. You're going to knit. Oh, this is the one I was talking about. You're going to knit something like.
You're going to knit a gauge swatch.
Oh, is that what that is?
You're going to do all the swatching.
Okay,
and
sorry.
Your sweater is still going to come out wrong.
That's so true. That happened to me on my last sweater. Not this one, but the oh my God, the cashmere light Lang sweater. Yeah. I did a nice big fat gauge. I was on gauge. It was wonderful, and I don't know what happened, but as I'm knitting, my gauge totally changed on that sweater, on that yarn. Yep. For some reason, I got a lot tighter, and it was such a pain. I think I had to rip that sweater back probably 4 times.
It's a bummer. It's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just shove it in the corner and becomes one of those UFOs that we were talking about on another episode.
Yeah, I did put it away for a little bit. It had to have a timeout. I was so mad at it. Yeah. And you know what was so funny? I was like, remember I texted you, I was like, I'm knitting so loose now, I can't match the gauge. Okay, I'll have more coffee. And then I was like, oh, I'm knitting too tight, I can't match the gauge. You know, I need to meditate. It didn't matter. It was just like I couldn't get the gauge that I had gotten on my first swatch for some reason. But that yarn was really squishy.
Yeah, I've knit so many disappointing projects, and like by knitting those disappointments, you get to the state of knitting that you want to be in, of making things you want to wear. But yeah, it's just part of the process.
It is part of the process.
You have to go through those. I think most people have to go through knitting those bummer projects.
I know. Well, and I had eventually finished that sweater, and it's one of my favorite sweaters now. I freaking love that sweater. I'm so happy that I didn't just leave it in the corner after I got mad at it and put it on a timeout, because it's a great sweater.
You persevered.
I
through the
did.
struggle.
I did.
Good job.
Okay.
Next hard truth.
Oh yeah, this one.
You are going to knit your first sock, finish it, and then promptly never finish, or maybe even never start the second one. Has this happened to you?
Yeah.
You knit socks?
I started.
Sock?
I knit a sock, and I was like, and then I thought I'd start the second part of the sock, but I think by the time that I picked it up to knit it, for some reason my gauge changed again, and so
This seems to be an issue.
It's a thing for me. I don't know why, but I had like a big, loose sock and a perfect sock, and then I just gave up. I never finished the second sock.
Yeah, I knit my first sock, and it was like a simple lace pattern. I was like, oh, socks aren't that hard. That's cool. I'll knit another one. And then I knit like the leg, and then I was just like, I don't really like doing these small tubes and having to keep the tension so tight.
Yep.
But then I knit like, I started another pair of socks, so I knit the first of that pair, and it was a different yarn, different pattern. Mm-hmm. So now I have 2 complete socks, just not matching at all. And then like 2 halves of other socks.
Yeah.
So I just wear the 2 complete ones as a pair. I mean, it's been years and years, so am I gonna ever finish those second socks? Probably not.
You know what? And there's like a whole thing of like people who love just knitting socks.
Sock knitters.
They're just like, they're a thing, right? I mean, they just love knitting socks. I'm just not one of those people.
I would like to be one of those people, because it like would solve a lot of the problems I have with knitting, like, spending a lot of money on sweater quantities of yarn, running out of storage space for all my sweaters.
Yes.
Socks are like small, they're portable, they're much less expensive than knitting sweaters.
Right? They don't take up as much room.
I could like wear them all the time, whereas I can't wear sweaters all the time.
That's true.
When it's too hot or whatever.
But you know what? The other thing too, for some reason, is whenever I did knit the socks, I didn't like the way they felt. I like machine made socks better. I don't know if it's just because the yarn's thinner or whatever, but I'm like, I don't like this.
I like my one sock that I knit cuff down. The other one I knit was toe up, and I did not get the fit right on that one. I got the foot's like too long, so I don't like it as much.
Yeah, I actually taught a few sock knitting classes. Not my thing for some reason. Yeah.
It's not really my thing, but every now and then I try to go back to it because I just want it to be a thing I like, but I just don't. It also always feels like it's a lot of effort to knit a sock, and then you like put it in your shoe and nobody gets to see it. You don't get all those compliments, and come on, that's really what I'm knitting for.
Yeah, true.
Compliments.
Yeah. All right, so what is the next one?
Number 10. You're going to knit your child or pet something, and they will do anything to avoid wearing it, and apparently your husband as well.
My husband.
Who just proclaimed hand knit things itchy.
Hey, you know what? You know what's hysterical about this? This is what I was talking about in one of our other episodes. I made a point. I made him hats, right? Because he didn't want sweaters, and so, which is great. But I made him, he likes really fine knit, like machine knit hats. And so I remember when they had that mink, the mink that wasn't mink, right? So there was this mink yarn out for a while, and it turned out that when it was tested, it wasn't mink. But it was really soft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
he just Angora, which is soft.
Is really soft. So apparently my husband just proclaimed that it was scratchy, and that's why he never wore them. He never told me that.
But what about your dogs? Are they happy in the hand knits?
Okay, so I have a little tiny dog who is ancient at this point, and she has been cold all her life. And I have knit her so many sweaters, and she refuses to wear them. She refuses to wear them. And like even cashmere, I've knit her cashmere sweaters. There's a cute little tiny pink cashmere sweater over there that she looked so cute in. Will wiggle and do all kinds of funky stuff to get out of this sweater. Lucy and Sophie, the other two, seem to be okay wearing sweaters, but of course I just knit Lucy a sweater and she didn't have it on for more than 30 minutes and she put holes in it. So
With her teeth, or?
I don't know how, I have no idea how she did it. I don't know. So now I'm trying to darn it, and I keep throwing it into the corner because I just don't have the patience to darn that sweater.
Why do we as knitters feel compelled to force hand knits onto our loved ones, humans and animals alike?
You know, I would much rather force my hand knitting on my pet than I would on the human.
Well, I don't have a pet, so there's nobody.
Because they're so damn cute. Don't you just want to, like, I've even seen, like, chickens wearing hand knit stuff. Haven't you seen those?
I have seen that.
They're hysterical.
I cannot imagine trying to put a sweater onto a chicken as somebody who...
Have you seen those Fair Isle ones on
I've
the little
seen them,
Shetland
but-
ponies out in
Oh, yes, I've seen
They're
those.
so cute.
Those ponies are as mean as chickens, though, so I'd be
Yeah.
scared to put a sweater
But they
on a
made
pony. They'd
those-
probably like them.
Those little ponies. And you know what is so hysterical is they actually, like, made those sweaters for those ponies. Because there's no way those ponies would, like, they had to make, it's
Custom
hysterical. And
For
have
the
you
round
seen,
belly of a
yeah, for a
Shetland
big
pony.
old round belly and the long front legs and the narrow chest. And I've seen even ones on penguins
I haven't seen penguins.
and goats. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's nothing cuter than an animal in a knitted sweater. And they've even seen, like, alpacas in alpaca sweaters. I don't know why they do that. Poor alpacas, but
Like they shear the alpaca
Yes.
and then knit it a sweater out of its own wool.
yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean,
right.
it's just damn cute is all. So I think animals always look cuter in knitting than people do. That's just me.
Hard truth number 11.
Yeah.
You are going to have to unknit or rip back pretty much on every project you do. Are you ever going to knit through without making a single mistake? Unlikely.
I don't think I have. I think I have made a mistake that I've had to somehow fix or bring back at least a row, if not a few, on every project. I don't think there's ever been, I can't remember a project that I didn't make a mistake on.
Yeah,
Or like
it's-
drop a stitch and have to ladder it back up
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah.
I think that the farthest I've gotten away with is dropping a stitch and laddering it back up on a hat and not having to rip back. But I'd be hard pressed to tell you which one it was because I'm not even sure that's true.
Yeah.
I could be
think
lying.
Only on the most like simple of projects would I be able to knit straight through and like not have to drop something down to fix it. But you know, the more you try to fix those mistakes rather than just saying, oh well, let it go, I'll just have the mistake in the project, the better your skills get.
Oh yeah.
And the more intricate of mistakes you can then fix, especially by like dropping down that section of the knitting
Yeah.
rather than having to like
Yeah.
tear it all out row by row.
Yeah, I mean, I got
And,
so good at fixing dropped stitches that I could fix dropped stitches in brioche at
Yeah.
points, you know, and I was like
high level.
patting myself on the back about that. But I can't, the one thing that I've seen people do is be able to drop down and do cabling, right? Or lace, like that. I can't, the lace, I think the lace would be harder than the cabling.
Depends
'Cause
on it depends on the pattern.
It depends on because of all the yarn overs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to really be able to read the stitches.
And I'm not, yeah. But again, it is pretty interesting to be able to figure those mistakes out. And I actually really enjoy it sometimes. I don't think it's so bad anymore ripping back. I just think it's part of the knitting.
Part of the process.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, look, if we could just make mistakes and have a do-over every time, wouldn't that be cool? I mean, there's so many things that we can't have a do-over. You know, wouldn't that be cool if we could just like, let's just rewind and do it again. But with yarn, you can. So that's cool.
+1 for knitting.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, which of these truths resonated with you? Do you have any other hard truths that we forgot about? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe if you're enjoying our channel. We'll see you next time.